What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second part of my journey here with Food Forest Abundance in Eleanor. Alan and my wife are not able to make it today, but we're going to jump right in. Eleanor has shared with us some initial concepts, and we're going to just go over those with you guys today. Good to see you, Eleanor.
Yes, good to see you, AJ. Hello, everybody. And yeah, let's get it started.
Yeah, sounds good.
Showing the concept map and the first list of plants that can go into your ecosystem, your food forest, and your ecosystem.
Excellent.
Okay, so I will share my screen before this. So explaining at what stage we are. So we are at stage of concept map. So basically, we had a first consultation, right?
Hmm.
Where we understood your needs and what the land can offer as well. We understood the main climatic patterns and also um, what is the topography that you have on your land, how the frost accumulates, where the water is, where is the water on your land. And so based on that, um, we came up with a concept plan showing the location of the main features, the main elements of the system, which is not only the food forest, but um, is also um, showing how the ecosystem can support your food forest, right? Like how we can protect your ecosystem and divert some energies like the wind, maximize the sun. Um, so I'm going to share my screen now,
Okay.
and we are going to go through the concept plan on, yeah, here. So let me know if you can see it
Yep.
clearly.
It looks like it's
Okay.
loading here.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Is it there?
Yep. We're good.
Okay. So here we have your property, right? The boundaries, and we have your house on this part. We have the creek running in the valley,
Hmm.
and this is your potential spring here, right?
Yes. Yep.
So let's just remind how the flow, how the energy moves on your land. So I will showcase the flow map here. We have the winds, dominant winds coming from the west, the north, and the south. We have the mountains all over the west part, and there is already current fencing running along the north west part and the southwest part of your property.
Correct.
Um, the slopes are, so let me just put on the contours. I don't know how many people can read the contours, but basically we have a mound on the north part of your land, a
Yeah, so maybe
mound.
real quick for those that aren't
Mhm,
familiar, the closer those lines are together, the
yeah,
steeper the slope.
exactly,
Yeah, so
exactly.
you can see we've got a pretty steep slope, which with a foot of snow is fun for sledding, but not much more difficult to manage for production.
Exactly. So for production, we want smoother slopes and more sun, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like this part of your land is steep and doesn't get much sun because it's exposed north. But we have after the little valley where the creek runs, right? This is a valley. We have the slope coming from north to south mainly, and you can see the contour lines are more distant, right, one from another. So it means that the slope is smoother, and this is a south part of the slope. So it gets more sun. Even during the winter, you have a little bit more sun during the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you have a zone in the valley, which is the frost accumulation zone. So basically, the frost travels from the high plateau, the cool air travels from the high plateau down to the slopes and accumulates in the valley. So this is where you don't want to have your um, your food forest planted because it will just be freezing. You want to plant it a little bit more up, still close to the river, still close to the creek, to benefit from the irrigation of the moist soil there, but not in the frost accumulation zone.
Makes sense. Yep. And maybe at some point during this, so I can share the video I recorded from the ground level to give
Yes.
people that visual
Mhm.
there.
So it's interesting to know as well that because this is a high, we have a higher mound here. Um,
Mhm.
so you see, this is the top of your mound, and then it slows down. It slopes down. So you have little mountains, let's say little mountains, little hills here, and then it slopes down. So
Yeah.
it makes the water accumulate at this point. In fact, you were telling me that uh, you were noticing more moisture around this part, more vegetation. And
Yes.
this is probably because we have this water accumulating at the feet of the mountain. Now, an interesting thing to do might be to check if so this water accumulation zone could be because of this mostly, or could be as well because the bedrock is closer to the surface. So if the bedrock is closest to the surface, it means that there is water logging, and it's not good in this case for the plant to be there because their roots will be soaked in water. So it depends. It's like I my suggestion is really try to dig a hole like 3 feet deep. It's a lot, but to dig by hand.
Yeah.
But it's important to make sure that the bedrock is far. It's not because of the bedrock that causes anaerobic conditions. Um,
Yeah. One thing I'll tell you is in the video I recorded, I moved up to a higher hill, and the hill was just a pile of dirt because what I didn't show is right behind me, there's actually a 9-foot hole where they ran the water line to our home. And so I
okay.
can confirm that 9 feet down, it's soil. There's no bedrock.
Oh. Oh, cool. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So definitely wonderful for us to be here.
Great.
And so what? Yeah. So let's just show the placement of the food forest right now.
Okay.
So the food forest basically uh, is located right where this water accumulation zone is, right where we have this water accumulation zone, a little bit closer to the creek here, right? So that you can easily irrigate um, the trees. And we also introduce the concept of swale, right?
Yeah.
So before your food forest starts and in the middle as well, you can dig some swales, like 1 and 2 swales. This is a good number. So swales are actually ditches that are dug along contour line, and so the water from up above just slightly runs off in the swale, and it is captured in the swale. And then the soil, because there is no slope in the soil, the water just accumulates there and gets soaked into the ground. So it means that it rehydrates the aquifer below. And it's the same with snow. Like the more snow you capture in the swale, um, the more water storage you have, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I've seen images of swells like half circle swells throughout deserts in highly
Mhm.
desertified climates, and it's pretty incredible to see
Yeah.
the transformation of the landscape simply by building the swell so the water has a chance to infiltrate.
Are those half moons as well?
Say that
Are
again.
those like are those like do they have the shape of a half moon?
Yes.
Okay, so this is another type of earthwork that has the same. function as a swell, which is capturing the water and also capturing all the seeds, right? And creating like a proper environment. It's a convex environment, so it's dug in in the ground, right? So the wind can just deposit the seeds, deposit the organic matter inside, like any weeds that will decompose. And also, it might be dug on a slight slope. So yes, it accumulates water, it retains it, and then the plant has more success to grow because it creates like a niche of light, protected from the wind.
Makes sense. Okay.
Let's just showcase the contour lines just to see like why the food forest has this weird shape right on the screen. But basically it's because you want to plant all your trees along the contours in order to really benefit from the slope, in order for the the swales to really work. And it is also a more harmonious shape, right? It is also easier for you to walk in between parallel rows of agroforestry,
Mm,
right? And not like go up and down the hill. So this is a much more, um, let's say, convenient pattern. It, you maximize the water capture. You could also have like a swale per per line, let's say, per food forest line. Um, we generally, you don't need that many, but you could also have like one swale per line. In this case, you would just dig smaller swales. And I will give the numbers for capturing the, like for the swales I mentioned, because based on the watershed here, you can and the amount of precipitation, you can dimension your swales to capture to maximize the water capture basically.
okay. Makes sense.
So yeah, so this calculation will be in the in the final rendering uh, of your of the food forest um,
Okay.
project. Okay, let's just get these contours out. Okay, so now we have the positioning of the fruit forest, but then it is exposed to wind, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So how can we minimize this energy? So it's very important to first have functional plantings all around the food forest. And when I speak about functional planting, it's about windbreaks, right?
Hmm.
So we want to have taller windbreaks on the north part because you simply don't get sun. But then we want to lower the size of the windbreak on the southern part of the food forest, just because the sun gets, you get
Yeah.
sun from the like all day from the south. And one good thing to know is that the size of like the height of your windbreak protects times 10 the length of the land that is after that. If
Okay.
if the windbreak is, let's say, not super dense, if you have 60% permeability, which is still, trees that can move, and it's not like a fence or a windbreak of um, um,
A question I have about that is if we have to have windbreaks to
juniper.
minimize the impact of the wind,
Uh-huh.
the amount of time it would take to wait for the windbreaks to grow to do their job, can we use other structures? For example, there's a greenhouse setup that that's down the road from us, and they use stacked large bales of hay to
Hmm.
break the wind. Can we use
Yeah.
temporary windbreaks while the vegetation is growing to then eventually remove those temporary windbreaks?
I would definitely do that. I would
Okay.
definitely do that. And also when you so so first the windbreak need to be fast growing windbreak, right? And generally it's like two rows. We have a, a fast growing windbreak row, And then if we can have like a more consistent, stronger, but medium growth windbreak on the second part, it's better. Um, yeah, so there's this thing we want fast growing windbreak, and then yes, sure, you can while your trees are so small, you can protect each row. You can put straw bales to just
Okay.
protect them from the wind. Um, I would say also a good practice is when you dig the swale, this mid swale, right? Planting the tree mid height of the swale is good, because you still get some protection from the wind and you still get um, water coming from the swale. So this row here will be your test also for this, like how 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 good does the swale work, like planting in the middle of the swale, like in the middle of the slope of the swale. I've seen that in Colorado. They plant trees like in the slope of the beach, like mid slope. So
Yeah,
you still get that water, underground water, and then you still get a little bit of protection from the wind, at
that
least
makes
the
sense.
roots, at least the roots.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yep.
you were telling me, AJ, that you would like to like extend the food forest, but from like change a little bit the food forest positioning, right?
Yeah. So down at the bottom edge of the food forest, if you go to the right just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more to the right in there, that's actually where the accumulation, that low point actually is for the water.
Okay,
And so my thought was,
more here.
uh-huh. And so
Okay.
my thought was if we could I would like to utilize that whole corner where it kind of comes
Okay.
into the point there,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that I have more either grazing ground or if I when we get our grains because we want to plant ancient grains like kamut or einkorn on
Okay.
the upper side that's flat. So if we could move that food forest down more towards the point and fill in that area, I have
So
all of that space down in there. So that would be
that would be here, right?
yes, uh-huh, yep. And so if the food forest is down there in the point, and then I can have more of the ground up there, because otherwise that
Yeah.
area there would just kind of be underutilized.
Okay. So I will make the changes with one, but let me just write it down now. Mm-hmm. For okay, here, more or less. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
I
That's what I was
understand that.
thinking. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And then the windbreak as well, we were changing.
Yep.
I have a question. So to access your, just remove the phone right now. Okay. To access your food forest, you were talking about the access, right?
Uh-huh.
Like accessing from
Yeah, right
some,
there.
yeah, here. Okay.
Yeah, the one below it. That one right there. That's where we have a little bridge that crosses the creek, and so it gives
Okay.
us easy access to cross over to the food forest.
So that upper one we don't want it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. That was my question.
Yep, that's perfect right
Um,
there. Mhm.
okay, so let's just keep talking about your food forest. So for now, we want to maximize like um, the length that we can utilize along the creek, just because it's easier to have you know um, um, take advantage of the moisture here. So we want like a longer row, right? Like a
Yeah,
corridor almost.
yeah.
And so I think, where would you like to like the forest to stop, basically? Because so let's say we can have it from here until, yeah, probably. the same size, but like this.
Yep.
Okay,
That would fit perfect right there from what it looks like.
okay. And so what I calculated is like you can have 6 rows, right? And each row would be 165 feet roughly um, long, and all the width of your food forest would be about 68 feet, right?
Great.
And
Yeah.
then because we are in a cold, windy um, climate, we need all the trees to be closer to each other, right? Like the distance, you cannot have like in the tropics where it's expanding and the trees need space because it's hot, right?
Yeah.
You need really to create like that microclimate of like an oasis almost, right? So it's important to have like this the center of your forest will be much more let's say happy
Yeah. Yeah.
than the rest, right? So if we can protect the, the edge of the food forest with plantings, it's even better. So the protected area is extended to whole your food forest, not just this internal part, right? And this is why like planning and a system that works well and that is protecting the food production is super important.
Makes sense. Yep.
Um, we also we also suggest so this is like the windbreaks around your food forest, right? We also have some windbreaks on this side just to protect that. I mean, probably these ones will not even be there now that the food forest has been moving. But yeah, we really want to concentrate like yeah, really protect your food production. And then And then we also have, okay, let me just put the new structure. Yeah. So we talked about the new structures, right, on your land.
Hmm.
You will have an educational amphitheater here, a veggie garden here, and then a terrace plan up on up the, on the back of the house, like on the right side of the house.
Yeah.
And so it's good as well to plan for fire protection and wind protection. And this is why it's good to have windows here as well, like that can protect your house and all the structures from the wind. Your house is already on a slope, so it's kind of protected by the wind already, but it's always good to, maximize the energy that is contained around your house. So
Yeah.
you can really, you can have a warm, like a nice feeling uh, when you're in this part of your land. I also included the chickens and the walipini. I'm not sure if it's a good positioning. I just work with the contours.
Yeah.
Um,
The Wallapini would move closer to the fence, but it's
okay,
essentially in the right spot. Yeah.
okay, yeah. And the chickens over here.
Hmm.
And
And
then,
and the chickens
yeah.
stay there. The chickens are actually where you have the windbreak that are facing the other direction, up inside of that little curve for the
Oh, okay.
yeah. So the chickens are up there, and we just put them there for the winter so that they're easy to access, and
Mm-hmm.
we can reach. You know, uh, if we have a really cold night, I can run an extension cord to put a heat lamp in
Mm,
their shelter. You know, if it's a
yeah.
negative 35,
Wow.
because we get down pretty low, negative
Mm-hmm.
35 Fahrenheit. So it's close enough that we can water it and keep them warm with power, or keep their like right now their water has has a warmer inside so it doesn't freeze, and that having
Okay.
it right there during the winter is good. But kind of like we talked about, when it warms up, we'll move them around
Mm-hmm.
the property so they can
Yeah.
fertilize the property.
Because it looks like they are right in the frost accumulation zone, but it's also easy access for you for water
Yeah,
and
and
like
actually
yeah.
the slope right there, it actually comes up onto
Uh-huh.
a higher portion. It's as high as the food forest, so they're not actually down in
Oh,
the frost zone. Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah,
So yeah, it's always yeah. like the contours and the reality of the land is always a little bit changing. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not like 100%, but at
Yeah.
least we have it. Okay. Um, good. Yes. And let's just talk about the last protection line, which is the windbreak that you can plant little by little, like year by year around your fence line. We generally suggest 2 rows of windbreak, but you will have the details in the narrative. So just like this, our job is to design your food forest, right? But we
Yep.
also want to make sure that your ecosystem is viable, is protecting your food production. So this is why we give advice, like how many, like where the windbreak can be positioned, and oh, the Walipi means right on the windbreak. But so where the windbreak can be planting distance and the type and the shape as well. So if your windbreak is, so if, for instance, if the wind is coming from the west here and your windbreak, the wind is coming from the west and your windbreak is parameter, so you have 2 rows of windbreaks like this. So first one is smaller row, like less height, and the second one is a taller row. So the windbreak is the wind gets diverted up, right? And um, and then it slows down some, like times 10 the height of your second windbreak. So you have um, your land pretty covered, let's say. And then when you feed the windbreak pattern all around your land, then basically you get your land all protected from the wind. It's really important to repeat that windbreak pattern on the land, especially for the food production system. So you're
Okay.
sure that you slow down the wind and you have more, yeah, you have more possibility to grow
Makes
food.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about water that we didn't talk about yet. Um, so for your food forest, we have thought of pump. So you were talking about the ram pump, right? From the creek, and
Mm.
it can store water in an irrigation tank, and then by gravity um, distribute it to the food forest. I would add a little pump actually, just to make sure that the hole in the irrigation hole don't get clogged.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, this is especially when the slope is smooth. You generally this kind of problem happens,
Okay. Makes
right?
sense.
But you can have an irrigation tank that stores the water from the creek and then redistribute it. Maybe on solar. Maybe the ram pump can be on solar.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend that about this, and we'll have a solar pump as a
Mm.
secondary for making sure we get what we need.
Okay, good. And then on yeah, then on the, the talking about like fire prevention, what would be interesting would be to have also a fire prevention tank that you and this water you can pump it from the creek.
Mhm.
And so whenever it's needed, at least you have a big reservoir of water and you can water your house around whenever there's um, fire alarms in the region, because yeah, it can get pretty hard.
Yeah,
Um,
and we have fires here in the summer for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
especially being next to Yellowstone. Last year was the worst since we've been here, but there were days where the
mm,
smoke just kind of came in and settled in
wow,
from fires that were fairly close, or even not even close. Big wildfires, even in Idaho, will carry over, and it just settles
wow,
in over Cody. Yeah.
yeah. So it's really important to hydrate the land. Like we didn't like it's not the plan here, but if you could, um, if you could work some swale, like if you could dig some swale along contours
Mm,
just to rehydrate those ground really, really well. Um, this is not like this is a half of a swale because uh, it's it drops down like a drain at some point. So yeah, and it just just make it as a swale, just to follow the windbreak pattern. But so a swale like this, along the contours, and
yeah.
basically this swale could just be extended all over your the north side of your property. So at least you get all the water like infiltrated in the ground, and then you recreate that ecosystem and planting. For the cattle, you can also plant like fodder islands, which is honey locusts, black locust, mulberry, willow as well. Where willow loves water, um, but like these islands are um, a cooler spot, and so grazing animals can just eat the leaves of the trees, but also rest in the shade, and it makes also a water uh, water rich environment, shaded, especially gray, so the fire doesn't get you know that tall in the trees. Uh, and so yeah,
Okay.
planting the land with trees that are I wouldn't say fire resistant, but that can accumulate water like oaks as well. These are slow growing tree, but also are really well. Willows, um, and then keeping the weed, like keeping the bushes and the shrubs low, just that it doesn't get up in the trees. This is very important to
Yeah.
just stop the fire as soon as possible. Like not let it expand because the fire. Well, generally the fire comes from is carried by the wind, right? So it can be carried from the west side into um, into your land, but the fire also travels on slopes. So here you have a configuration where you are already on like this is upslope, right?
Hmm.
So depending the direction of the main fire, like do you know where the fire has more probability to come from?
Yeah. If we had fire, it would probably either travel uh, up the creek
Yeah.
if it started below,
Hmm.
or if it was above and the wind comes from the north, it would come down that direction.
Okay.
Um, as you can see, we're less likely to get fire coming from the west because they've got the gravel pit above there and there's no
Oh,
vegetation, no
yeah.
forage, and so
Right.
that's a pretty strong fire break for us all along that west slope because of the gravel pit. And that gravel pit travels the full length of our property. And so
Okay.
we wouldn't have probably any fire risk unless it was a spot fire. If there was
Hmm.
a fire on the other side of the gravel pit and embers blew over uh, the gravel pit and caused a spot fire. But if we
Hmm.
have a well hydrated land, it's less
Yeah.
likely that embers would cause a spot fire on our own property.
So here, basically, beyond, let's say, the most probable direction for the fire would be the north. So yes, the fire travels on the slope. So here you have like the potential, right, for the
Hmm.
fire to travel from down here upslope. But you have a creek in the
Yeah.
valley, so it's a really good, um, you know, fire stopper. And then yeah, if you have swales that already rehydrate the land, you have green grass kept grazed, you have less probability
Yeah.
to have your to have a fire on your property.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Let's um, let's just get the numbers out. Do you have any questions?
No, no questions. It's very clear. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's great.
Maybe you want to maybe we want to talk a little bit about the plants, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I looked through the list there and I'm really excited to read all of the different variations or varieties that we can have in our food forest for our
Cool.
growing zone. And for those that we had a few questions on the last video, we are in growing zone 5A
Mm.
here in Cody. So
And if I share, um, let's see. Well, I would share my whole screen because like, yeah. So this is I prepared a preliminary plant list, right, based on the plants that can grow in your area in Zone 5 in Wyoming, and also based on the fruits that you would like to hear on your land, right? So about the fruit trees, well, these trees that mainly understory fruit trees, we have apple, and then the varieties come later on. Like here, we have some varieties that are that can be good, but I need to do more research um, for your around your area, right?
mhm.
So we have apple, we have elderberry. Elderberry loves water. We have white mulberry, pear, plum, serviceberry, sour cherry, and peach. So those ones will work fine. Um, we, yeah, we were talking about apricot, but apricot is a really sensitive tree. Um,
Ah,
mm, yeah,
yep. No apricots here.
yeah, it's. I mean, you could also have figs, but same. I know there's figs that grow in Canada, but it would be a certain variety.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe we can try one or two.
We're not big fig consumers, so
Okay.
we'll skip that and
Yeah.
I'm not heartbroken over the apricots, so that's okay.
Okay. Um, Regarding the shrubs, we have so mountain cherry. I didn't put it in the trees, even if it's productive, just because it's really like a small shrub compared to the size of the trees here. So it could be integrated in the in a row of windbreak, for instance. I'm not sure of the growing if it's fast growing or not. I think it's like medium slow growing. Um, but because of it's smaller, so I didn't really integrate it like in the food forestry. We could, but you will have like a big difference size,
I see.
um,
Yep.
which which also is like a trap for the wind at some point. So it's like we can create a wind channel,
Okay.
which you don't really want.
Yeah.
We have like two great nitrogen fixers that we are going to the food forest. It's called indigo and the Siberian tree shrub, which are fast growing shrubs. They can fix nitrogen, and you can chop and drop them, and really uh, refill soil only with those. Uh, you and then you have high bush cranberry, which is good for attracting the wildlife. And yeah, I think you can. I'm not sure if this variety you can eat the berries. I need to check. Um, I'm pretty sure it yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure yes. But
Okay.
mm, Nankin cherry for sure, high bush cranberry,
Okay.
and then you have the native berries and berry native berries. I think we can add the Juneberry because I read in some comments on the YouTube video that Juneberry was so good. Like
Mhm.
you had an answer, and we can add it. We can add it here. So
Okay.
there's a chokeberry, chokecherry, golden currant, gooseberry, raspberry, strawberry, and goji berry. The goji berry, I will specify it, but you need like a male and female plants needed. Um, some are self-fertile, but yeah, goji berry, you need to have fruits. You need a male that pollinates the female.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Then here, regarding the deciduous windbreak, you have black locust, box elder maple, um, hackberry, honey locust, and red maple. So these are the ones that can work. We can add more, but those ones will be good.
Um,
And they have, yeah.
the box elder maple, is that like maple syrup? Like we can tap the trees for maple syrup?
You can, yes, you can. It is not the best variety,
Okay.
but you can, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a type of maple tree that we could use to tap for maple to add to our food forest if it grows in our zone, because that would
Okay,
be nice too if we could harvest,
yeah.
maple syrup.
This one has a lower sugar content,
Okay.
but it will work good in your climate. I think silver maple should work too, but I need to check.
Okay.
Let me just write it down. So, check. Okay, and then so these ones are for as wind fast growing windbreak. Like we want something that grows fast, right? So oak would be good, but it's slow growing. So
Yeah.
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 Um, you can have evergreen windbreaks as well, and these ones are more sensitive to fire, of course, but will grow faster and
Great.
taller, right? So it's, you have spruces, you have the cedars, Rocky Mountain, Douglas fir, and common juniper, which is smaller. You can have like the first row. This is medium growing tree. But
Okay.
when it's there, it's there. Like it's
It's not going anywhere.
no,
Gotcha.
and it's also medicinal.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Great.
yeah, the bays, like you can harvest the bays and you can cook with them. It's very tasty.
Okay.
You also have your grassy layer to support layer of your food forest, right? And we have some um, so we have different functions here. We have pollinator attraction, we have biodynamic accumulator, pest repellent, ground cover, natural filter. And so, for instance, you have the comfy brushing page or yarrow. It's just great for attracting flies. It's also a dynamic accumulator. You have
What does that mean? Biodynamic accumulator. What does that
so
mean?
so basically, they have roots that go deep into the ground and they collect nutrients and then they bring them to the surface, like the nutrients that are unavailable almost most plants because they cannot go that deep. Especially comfrey is great for that. Um, and then they bring them up in the leaves, and when you chop and drop them, which is you cut them and you just leave them into like on the ground, they decompose and they um, they bring these nutrients to the upper layer of the soil, right? So they make them available.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now in our climate, because it's so dry, would it make sense to, mulch them? So to chop them and mulch them in a like a wood chipper so that they're more finely ground for more, faster decomposition in our climate?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. You want to add a lot of compost at the starting, like as you start your food forest, you want to add a lot of compost and wood chips. Like wood chips is my mantra. Is really like the don't put sawdust because sawdust will stop oxygen and mostly water to penetrate the soil. So
Mm,
it will create like a thick. It will be almost like plastic, right? No oxygen, no breathing. But if the wood chips is a little bit thicker, right? Like the size of finger here, it can hold water, and there's also enough space for oxygen to
Mm,
move into the soil.
okay,
So
that
no
makes sense.
sodas.
Okay, great. Good to know.
And then here I also integrated some fireblade plants to that you can plant around the house, and that contain a good level of water. So you have Jerusalem artichoke, white clover, lovage, horseradish, elecampane, marshmallow, and bee balm. So those ones, if you want to have some plantings around the house, you can plant these, and it will, keep the fire potential, like lower the fire potential as
Okay.
well.
What do you think about aspens? Um,
Aspens,
I've,
let me see.
are you familiar with aspens?
Mm, mm,
Because I was reading that aspens can grow in shaded areas. Um,
Okay. Maybe I know.
and the aspen tree is like it's a white bark. There you go. Yeah, those there.
I need to know like the tremble. Oh yes, yeah. So this one is grows in where am I? This one grows in like loves water.
Oh,
Yeah, you have these on water, like where there's water, you have aspen
mm.
generally, but they they are very sensitive. Like they can break easily
Oh, okay.
when there's wind.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah,
Not good for
I
me then.
I've I've seen them growing in semi-shaded areas, in frost accumulation zones. So it could technically work close to the close to the creek. Like if you want to grow a riparian zone, right,
Mm.
all along the creek, with oaks, willows, aspens, you could definitely. It's just that aspens, um, yeah, they catch the wind so easily, and then after maybe 20 or 30 years, they could easily break. Or even
Okay.
like if you have a strong wind, they are the ones that go. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So not close to my house because I don't want any aspens falling on my home.
No, at least like place them maybe what is 100, yeah, 100 feet, 150 feet, you know,
Out of reach
far.
of, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
But they are good trees to accumulate water.
Great. Okay.
Mhm.
Couple of
Um,
areas in mind that I have in mind on our property that I could put those.
okay. I think it's also a good, it's good for timber wood, I think.
Mm,
I'm not sure, huh? I'm not sure, but
okay.
I have a friend, he had them on his property and he was using them. Um, so,
Great. Okay.
so yeah, just to check, need to check, like, this
Yeah.
is just my mind, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I get it.
um, let's just go quickly through. Do you want to go through the agroforestry pattern that I need to build still, but this is an example
Okay.
of what we can have in your plan. Um, so basically, this is the like don't take into account this 1 year plan, because we are more like on a food forest um, model than agroforestry. Um, but we basically have here um, a pattern of different fruit trees. So here it's in meters. So let's say every 4 meters, which is every 12 feet, more or less, like 12 to 14 feet, you have a tree. This is for zone 5. We could easily shrink them to 9 to 10 feet, like the distance in between each tree, just because we want to get them closer. And in between each tree, we would have, I'm not sure if this time I will put a support tree, because like the support tree is requires more maintenance. Basically, the support tree can be a willow or a mulberry, and then you chop and drop it like every season.
Mm,
Maybe it's just for chop and drop, and then in 10 years, 10 years time, you won't have them. Like because they're really easy to they survive the chop and drop, and so it depends. Like if you want to really have a high maintenance system um, that gets its own nutrients from the system itself, then you chop and drop the support species, right? And then you just throw it on the ground. You chop and drop the false indigo and the Siberian pea shrubs, which are the nitrogen fixing trees. So there's a lot of chop and drops to do. Or you could just keep this tree, the support tree, the mulberry or the willow, just chop and drop the nitrogen fixing tree, and then periodically just add wood chips from outside of your system to inside your system. Like when I say outside, you have to source the wood chips um,
yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think, anyways, you will always have to source wood chips, even if you have these these support species inside your food forest. It's always good to build soil
Yeah. Makes sense.
as much as possible. So yeah, so maybe I will just skip this tree now because we're not in that configuration unless you want to be, but maybe you want something simple.
Simple. Simple's
Yeah,
better right now. We're very
yeah.
busy.
Yeah. So just periodically add wood chips, and that's, yeah, that's
Great.
that's still great. The wood chips is better if you have deciduous trees, wood chips, not pine trees, not spruces, because these ones are a little bit acidic and decompose a little bit, like not that good. If you had like oak or willow, wood chips, it's better.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
We have some Russian olives on our property that are it's an invasive species for us. So
yeah.
would that work to chop and mulch and use that?
I would actually suggest to include them in the system,
Oh, okay.
but I know that they are considered an invasive species, and so like it could be shocking to hear that, but
Yeah.
they're growing so fast and they are available. So what you can do is chop and like keep them on your property, like maybe small islands, like the ones that are there. Just use them periodically, chop
Manage
and
them.
drop, and exactly.
Okay.
And um, if I'm not wrong, I have a client. She told me that Russian olive, like the olives, they little base, they have some very dense nutrients for the like neural system. So it's a medicine actually.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
a little bit more. This thing needs a little bit more digging. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah,
Mm-mm,
because if we can utilize them since they're here, we might as well
exactly.
utilize them for their benefits.
Exactly. So this is the concept, basically the explanation of your concept plan. Um, if you have, any thoughts, we already spoke about moving the food forest, um, or yeah, maybe we can, like the Wally Pini, based on, if we plan the windbreaks, it could go a little bit
Yeah.
further.
And what I might be able to do is move the Wallapini to where the chickens are. The distance
Hmm.
would be about the same. And then I could
Yeah,
move the chickens in the winter and integrate them up sort of within the windbreak where the Wallapini is. So just kind of
yeah,
change them.
yeah, like interchange basically.
Yep. Yeah, we
And
could.
also, you could also integrate the chickens in the food forest at some point,
Yeah,
like with the
absolutely.
chicken tractor.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, exposed south would be good for
Okay.
this. Or can you move it here? Or
That's where I would put it right
yeah,
there.
perfect.
because like I said, that comes up to a slope, so I could dig my Wallapini down, and because it's on a
Mm,
slope, we could just enter the Wallapini from the existing slope that's there anyway.
great, great, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. So, so the next step is finalizing the um, the positioning of your food forest, the agroforestry patterns, finalizing also the plant list and the numbers of plants that go into your food forest, and also doing some swales calculation here for knowing the length and the width and the depth. Um,
I'll have to do that when the ground thaws.
yeah.
The the frost is gonna be too much to dig through right now, but as soon
Oh
as it
yeah, yeah,
thaws
yeah.
out, yeah.
And it will also be smoother to work. Like with all the water in the ground, it will be better to to dig.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm.
absolutely. Okay. Um, why don't I share the video I took from the ground level in this recording so people can get the whole picture.
Yes.
So let me pull that up here real quick, and I'll share my screen. What's up, everybody? So we're working with Food Forest Abundance. They're an affiliate partner. We're an affiliate partner of theirs, and what they do is they build food forests all over the world. And food forests are designed for your context, your growing zone where you live, to maximize food production in that area. If you saw our interview, our last video with them, we were kind of looking at the property from a satellite image, looking at the slope of the land and everything to try to pick the best spot that had the most growing time. And you can see the sun's about to drop down behind the hill there. So that hill is off the table because it's already shaded and we won't get as much growing time. And this is about the shortest time of year for us. So we're looking at this area back here. This is our neighbors. You can see his wooden fence right there. So we're going to build our food forest all along this area here. It's going to be hard to see, but there is a slope that comes down, just a gradual slope. And we get a lot more moisture in this area with more grass than any other area on the property. And because of that slope and the moisture and where the water is going to come in, this area is going to be a perfect spot to build for our food forest. Our creek runs right down there. And if you saw in that blueprint, we're going to put a water tank here, and we're actually going to feed that water tank with a ram pump. And if you're not familiar with that is, go check it out. But it's a pump that operates without power, just operates based off of the water flow and the drop from where the water comes in. And we have a creek that runs right through our property that starts up there. And if we put the ram pump down here below, we should have enough head pressure, enough pressure to keep that water tank full every night so that we can water our food forest during the day. If you see, there's a lot of tracks here. That's wildlife. Those are deer. So we're also going to have to protect our food forest from being consumed by the deer. So this guy doesn't do a whole lot to keep anything away. Jesus. So anyway, that's what we got planned. We're really excited about this. So this entire area, we're looking at about a quarter acre, will be a quarter acre food forest for Wyoming. And we're pretty excited about it. So follow along the journey. We have another call coming up at the end of the week. But I just wanted to share with you guys where we're going to be building our food forest from the ground level. You'll see it on the satellite, but this is the spot we've selected. Oh. Eleanor's other audio computer disconnected, so she's working on connecting that now. But now you guys get a full sense of from the last call into this call, plus the ground level view of what we're looking at doing for the food forest, as well as all of the different species and so forth that they're working to help us integrate so that, as you heard, low maintenance is what's we prefer because of the amount of travel we're doing for from the farm. We just trying to manage our lifestyle as well as the context we're in so that everything works for us. And Eleanor, that's kind of what one of the things I was most excited about when I met with Jeff is that it doesn't require so much maintenance. It's going to require intention
Mhm.
and design, but it's not as management intensive as monocropping or anything to that
Exactly.
nature.
It is, sorry, at some point I got my mic off, so, but
It's
it's
okay.
working. Exactly. There is though, bigger inputs at the beginning because of course you're building the system and you are making it viable for and resilient for the next years, right? But as the time passes, the ecosystem is balancing itself. So of course you will have some losses because it will just normally like settle down, but the trees and the plants that are meant to be there will expand, right? Because the more plants you have together, it's a collective, it's a family. If you have a poor tree all alone in the middle of a valley with a lot of wind, it's like, oh, that tree is brave if it survives. But then if you have a forest in the middle of a valley, it's everyone is protecting each other. So it is really what we want to achieve here, right?
Yeah, that's great. It did bring one question to mind. When we plant the trees, how big should those trees be already when we plant them? Is there any rules around that?
Let's say that the bigger, like if you can plant a 2 years old tree is already better. The thing is that you want it's a compromise with price. It's a
Hmm.
compromise also with genetic information and epigenetics because well the bigger the tree, of course, the more expensive it will be. But also, the bigger the tree, the less like it will take more time to get acquainted to your climate. When a younger tree, yes, it's younger, so it has, you know, it's developing its own immune system and resistance, but it's also acquiring um, a lot of information and a lot of it's implementing strategies to survival, right, and
Hmm.
connection with the peers. A good thing that you can do is inoculate mushrooms like mycorrhizal fungi in the ground, so that um, what the mushroom does is, even if the roots can reach maybe 3 meters, 4 meters, like 9 to 12 feet long, like around, then the mycorrhizal fungi will extend that network. It's like the internet of the underground. Like it's your transportation system. It's your highway for nutrients, right, to
Yeah,
come in. So the more developed that network is in your fruit forest, the more communication, the more nutrients, the more supplements you can
yeah,
give to your to the plants. And the plants, they support each other in this way. They
yeah,
exchange vitamins, they exchange and um, uh, antibiotics, if I can
yeah,
call them like that,
yeah.
they exchange nutrients, minerals.
That makes
So my
sense.
yeah,
So
it's
you're
not
speaking of the mycelia network, and
exactly,
a really
exactly.
great show for people to check to look at is Fantastic Fungi. That will,
Yeah,
if you want to know more about the mushrooms and the mycelia network, Fantastic Fungi. I don't
yeah.
know where you'll find it, but if you look that up, they do a really good job explaining what you're talking
Mm-mm-mm.
about.
So yeah,
Okay,
that's
excellent. Thanks, Eleanor. We're excited. We're excited for the next step
thank
to
you.
see the numbers we need and so forth. And so thank you very much. We're really excited, and we're going to see if we can get our local NRCS and ag involved, because as far as we are aware, nobody in our area is doing this, and this kind of
Yeah,
information being shared throughout the agriculture community could be very valuable for this area.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank
Okay.
you, AJ.
Thanks, Eleanor. We'll see you on the next one.
Yes. Bye, everyone.